Now, what do you do first when you've come back from a holiday and there's lots to do in the garden? If you're a novice gardener like me, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. All you need to do is to tap the button marked subscribe, and that means next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your tablet or your computer, one of my videos will be waiting for you. Now, I must admit, after I came back from our family holiday, I had visions that my flower garden would be absolutely packed with flowers and I'd have to be cutting them, bunching them up and giving them to my neighbours as gifts. But no, it seems to be that I don't have green fingers, and here we are at the end of the summer with barely any flowers at all. It was so disappointing. I don't quite know where I'm going wrong, although I will say I don't water regularly and I haven't fed this bed this year, so there are those things I need to work on for next season. So the first thing I'm going to do is to deadhead, to water and pick. So here are some little Rebecca star flowers that have shriveled up in the heat. I'm just about to dump a 10-litre watering can of water all over the place. Now, if I look really carefully, of course there are flowers. When I take in my side of the garden in one go, it just looks like things are growing, but there's nothing pretty there. But there were things to pick, so I have got some zinnias that I'm picking. I'm also going to pick some of the cosmos. Later on there's going to be some Verbena bonariensis. I still can't say that correctly. And I'm going to pick some extra sedum. It's just come to that stage now where it is bursting into the lovely pink blossoms. And also I'm going to cut some borage, which has gone over. It's going to be a really good base for a flower arrangement. And if you watch on to the end of the video, I'll show you in real time how I've created a flower arrangement to reward myself for the disappointment I originally had when I first stepped into the garden after my holiday. I'm noticing that my cosmos is quite leggy. I like that because it means I can pick really long stems and I'm not restricted to making flower arrangements in jam jars. But are they leggy because that's the variety, or is my garden not getting enough sunshine? To me, I think it is getting enough sunshine, particularly from midday through to late evening, because this side of the garden, although the whole garden is south facing, this particular bed is west facing, and there certainly is some heat at the end of the day. And as it's a warm day, I'm using this vase as a bucket. So as I cut my flowers, I'm taking off the lower leaves and putting them straight into a container so that I can then arrange them at my leisure later on. You don't want to be picking flowers and just leaving them in the air, because the ends will dry out, and that would be so disappointing if you'd nurtured your flowers and then discovered that they were dead before you could actually arrange them. So I'm going to leave them there on the patio. That wasn't an arranged arrangement, just waiting for me to finish off the other jobs I've decided to do in the garden. So having deadheaded, picked what I wanted, watered, I'm now looking at my bay shrub, which has grown quite a lot since we were last at home. I have been trimming the top of it. I'm trying to keep it at about 2 meters high so it doesn't get too high, but it's also got a spread sideways and is starting to overshadow the ground at the bottom. So what I've decided to do is effectively lift the crown of the bush. So I have been cutting out the lower stems and taking away that greenery. So we'll have to see what happens there, and whether I need to give that some more attention in the future. So let's get back to my flower arrangement. So I've got here a sturdy vase. This is a vase I bought a few years ago in IKEA, soft grey and quite a classic but modern shape. And I'm going to start off by using borage. So my borage has gone over, little blue flowers have disappeared, and it makes quite a good base. I quite like the shape of the borage as well. It reminds me of tomato vines without actually having the tomatoes. So I'm putting that in first because it gives me a nice bushy centre. And then I'm adding in 3 stems of the sedum, which give me triangular points, and it gives me a gap in which I can arrange my other flowers through. So I'm just building up really. Get something bushy first, get 3 key anchor points in, and then use that to guide you as to where to put the rest of your flowers. My cosmos has come in 3 colours. It's this pale mid-pink, which is the most prolific. I've got a few white, which were near the bench at the end of the garden, and a more burgundy variety by the kitchen door. I don't know why they've separated out in those areas, because the seeds were all from one packet and they were sown randomly and planted randomly. So you can't really see what I'm doing at the moment because I'm arranging the flowers to face me, but I will turn the vase around in a moment. So I've kept my flowers long. It is so nice to be able to arrange a big flower arrangement. If you're buying your flowers in the supermarket, of course you'll know they all come in a standard height, and it's tricky to make something imposing if everything is very uniform. But the one thing you need to watch out for if you are arranging a big arrangement is you'll get all the flowers on the outer edges. So you need to think about the heart of your flower vase as well, and that's where I'm going to use my zinnia, because they are on slightly shorter stems, so I'll put those in last and position them where I can see lots of heavy green from the stems and leaves of the other flowers, and it will just mean that I've got a focal area, something for your eye to rest on naturally, and then from there your eye is taken all over the vase and outwards towards the edges where you'll see all the finer flowers and the buds. I'm in a real quandary about what I should be planting in my garden, what I've got the skills to grow, particularly with my brief. I want to grow things that are tall, and I want to grow flowers to cut to use indoors for flower arranging. So I have been doing a little bit of a field trip over the summer. Every time I've been to a stately home or a garden, I've been taking photographs and trying to be more mindful, more noticing more what other gardeners, I've called myself a gardener, what other people are growing in their gardens. And if you watch on to the end of the video, I've got a few clips of a garden I visited locally to me, but also a couple of gardens that we visited on the Isle of Wight. Now, if you're a member of my free Facebook group, Flower Start World, you'll already have seen some of my holiday photographs. They're limited to flower arranging things, and you're more than welcome to join the Facebook group by clicking the link underneath this video. So that's the finished arrangement. I do a little bit of tidying up, and then I'll twist the vase around and you can see the finished thing. So I like to display my flowers in an alcove in my dining room. It's got a lovely grey colour paint to the walls. One of the things I love about flower arranging is that once your flowers have died, you throw them onto the compost heap and you create another masterpiece. But my husband has been going to an art class, and I asked him if he would paint me a picture of one of my arrangements, and I gave him an image that I'd seen in a copy of Homes and Antiques magazine, where the flowers had been painted but they had a white edge to it. So he painted this picture for me. So I'll show you the picture, and I'll also show you the magazine inspiration. And don't forget to watch on to the end of the video when I share the gardens I've been visiting over the summer. The aim for my garden is that I have got a full herbaceous border. I don't want to be a flower farmer. I don't want my garden to look like an allotment. So I've been taking photographs and video clips of lots of borders locally, so I can really impress on my mind what it is I like about them, how often the plants are repeated, a bit like doing a flower arrangement. It's the repetition that makes up the interest. So actually those images there were taken when we visited York in the summer, and this is the house, a National Trust property on the Isle of Wight. Just look how tall these flowers are. Echinops thistle, there's some phlox. I do need to go through my photographs and start making a list rather than relying on my memory. And what I've got is Linda Varta's Garden Journal. I think I'm going to use one of the pages at the back of that book to start making a list of what I see in other gardens and making sure they're going to be useful for flower arranging. Now, I did buy some phlox from our local flower market plant store in town. I bought 3 of them, but I think again I bought dwarf varieties. I want to grow flowers that are going to be tall so that I've got the flexibility to cut them short and arrange them or keep them long for a really abundant look. Now this herbaceous border here has got a gravel path going down the middle. And I'm just wondering, will there ever come a time when we dig up our lawn and just have loads and loads of flowers? That must be quite a big step, mustn't it, to get rid of a lawn? We always think of that as being the traditional garden, an area of square greenness with the flower beds at the sides. Well, that's all for me for now, and I'll see you in the garden next time.